The zephyr at Pontchartrain Beach is long gone, but the New Orleans economy over the past 40 years has been like a roller coaster ride.
As we celebrate our 40th year, Angela Hill looks back at 4 decades of financial ups and downs for New Orleans.
Business developers don't like the term Big Easy because it implies that we are too laid back. But in 1957, it is easy to just get along on the bounty of natural resources New Orleans enjoys. The Mississippi River brings business to our doorsteps, from the grain and coal of the Midwest moving downriver for export to the raw materials imported for the industrial plants that dot the river. The huge oil and gas reserves beneath our land and water provide good-paying jobs for those willing to work hard to extract it. And the marshes and estuaries provide a living and a meal to anyone willing to dip a net or wet a line. But living off the land does not make us masters of our own destiny, as the next 40 years will show. It makes us vulnerable to outside influences. The port is the first to feel the effects of outside competition. In 1957, the wharves that line the riverfront handle mostly labor-intensive cargo that has to be unloaded piece by piece. Other ports along the Gulf Coast begin to develop container handling facilities that allow cargo packed in steel containers to be moved directly from ships to waiting trucks or trains. Shippers began leaving New Orleans port for the more modern and less expensive facilities. Longshoremen's unions here initially resisted containerization, fearing the loss of jobs. But eventually there was a bow to progress, and container shipping was developed along the industrial canal. The port also benefited from a 1989 gasoline tax that provided funds to modernize shipping facilities along Chapatula Street. The oil and gas industry proved to be more prone to major swings between good and bad times. From 1957 to 1973, oil prices and employment in the industry remained stable. But a shortage created by foreign oil-producing states brought about dramatic economic changes. Consumers waited in lines for gasoline that was going up in price every day. In fact, everything was getting more expensive because the cost of transporting goods was skyrocketing with gas prices. What was bad for consumers was good for the oil industry. The number of workers in the industry shot from 114,000 in 1975 to over 165,000 in 1982. Oil was selling for as high as $32 a barrel. But the bubble burst as quickly as it grew. By 1986, oil prices dropped as low as $10 per barrel. The 55,000 jobs lost in the oil fields reverberated through the economy, which had already seen thousands of jobs disappear with the closing of the American Standard plant on the lakefront and Kaiser Aluminum in St. Bernard. The state's unemployment was the highest in the nation.
Oil's not coming back. It's not coming back.
That belief fueled a new push to diversify the Metro New Orleans economy. It was something that had been talked about for years, and in fact, much groundwork was already done. An early 1970s study had suggested New Orleans build on its tourist base by opening up the riverfront to shops, cafes, and parks. In the 60s, this was the only way to view the river from Jackson Square. A major remodeling of the French Market in 1975 was to make it more attractive to tourists. The Superdome was finished that same year, providing the city with a world-class sports arena. And plans were in the works for a World's Fair in 1984. While the fair was not a financial success, its buildings left the city with a major convention facility that would grow to be one of the largest in the world, and a shopping mall overlooking the river. Other malls sprang up in French Quarter warehouses, and an aquarium and park opened in 1990 completed the downtown riverfront changeover. In the height of the area's late 80s depression, two events helped lift local spirits and solidify the city's development as a convention destination. The first was Pope John Paul II's visit in 1987. Volunteers worked tirelessly to create a weekend that residents and visitors would never forget. The same volunteer spirit had Democrats and Republicans working side by side to make the 1988 GOP presidential convention a success. The 80s and the 90s took a toll on many locally owned businesses. Stores on Canal Street that held fond memories are gone. Krieger's, Gus Meyer, Godshaw's, and Holmes will soon be joined by Kraus. When the streetcars make their return to Canal Street, they will more likely shuttle tourists between hotels than move locals to retailers. And the 1980s saw the end of a source of many childhood memories. The last ride at Pontchartrain Beach stopped in the summer of 1984. K&B, Wemco, and LL&E are being swallowed up by larger, out-of-town companies, meaning a loss of high-paying management jobs. Gambling, or gaming, came on the scene in the early 90s as another way to replace lost oil jobs and raise taxes for the state. Riverboat gambling was approved in 1991, and a land-based casino for New Orleans was okayed in 92. While the riverboats have done well in Jefferson Parish and the rest of the state, 2 boats in New Orleans went bankrupt, and the remainder report a below-average take. The land-based casino was open only 6 months in a temporary location before declaring bankruptcy. The fate of the proposed permanent casino remains in limbo. As we near the end of the century, we can be thankful that a prediction from the 80s appears to be wrong. Big oil is coming back. Oil found in deep water and the development of technology to reach it has sparked new growth and pointed up a new problem, the lack of skilled workers. It is a dilemma that affects all industry and business in this computer age. Experts agree that Metro New Orleans' economic problem for the future will be improving education and training for the jobs of the future. Angela Hill, Eyewitness News Night Watch.
Tomorrow night, we'll look at changes in politics over the past 4 decades.
Well, just how serious is the injury to LSU running back Kevin Falk?
Plus, Mike Ditka is keeping the faith in quarterback Heath Shuler. Jim has sports next.